Dhamma brothers and sisters, in our Winter Dhamma English Club. My name is Phúc. It's really honorable, privilege, and happy for me to be the moderator for the interactive talk and discussion today. So before starting our virtual meeting and dialogue, I would like to invite all of you to put your palms together to recite Buddha's name for 3 times in Pali language. May I request Venerable Thitamnak to raise your voice first? Venerable, please.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Thank you very much, Bante. Next, I would like to announce the tentative program today as follows. 1, introducing guests and participants. 2, opening speech and introducing the chief guest by Dhamma Brother Moon-Hee. 3, main speech by our chief guest, Professor Moon-Hee, former director, Central Washington University. 4, Q&A section. 5, vote of thanks by Dharma Sister Trieu. 6, closing program by the traditional song of the club, I Have Bride, I'm Home. Now, in this meaningful and interactive meeting today, it's really my pleasure and honorable for us to welcome Professor Moon-Hee, former director, Central Washington University, USA. Venerable Dr. Thitamnak, founder and president of Nguyên Dhamma English Club, Vietnam. All teachers, faculty members, Dhamma brothers and sisters, all members of the club. Once again, warmly welcome all of you to this virtual meeting today. To understand our Winter Dhamma English Club, as well as brief biology of our chief guest today, now I'd like to invite Dhamma Brother Moon-Hee for opening remarks and introducing our chief guest. Brother, please, over the mic to you, brothers.
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Respected Mahasangha, dear Professor Moon-Hee, dear all members of the Nguyên Dhamma English Club, Dhamma brothers and sisters, very good afternoon to you all. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Professor Moon-Hee to our Nguyên Dhamma English Club, London School of Buddhist Study, Vietnam. Thank you so much, sister, for your kind acceptance of our invitation as the guest speaker today. Let me take a few minutes to give you a brief introduction of London School of Buddhist Study and Nguyên Dhamma English Club. As we know, London School of Buddhist Study was a top school in the field of Buddhist study in Vietnam. We sent a large number of months and nuns to 3 Vietnam Buddhist universities in Ho Chi Minh City, Huế, and Hanoi capital. Our students are usually top students at the entrance exam for graduate program in the university. For the betterment of usage of English, Nguyên Dhamma English Clubs were founded by Venerable Dr. Thitamnak in School of Buddhist Study at Minden Province. In 2020, with the participation of more than 200 monks and nuns, we are artists learning Dhamma English under the form of Buddhist English Club. Thus, we use English as a medium language to understand the Buddha teaching, along with improvements of 4 necessary skills of reading, speaking, listening, and writing for our members. It will be a strong foundation and valuable preparation for them to study abroad in the future. This is the basic step for all members of the club to have a good chance to learn the Dhamma through English and to understand English under the form of Dhamma. We will have a good approach to a prominent speaker, scholar, and teacher and professor in the fields of the Buddhist study from the different countries in different Buddhist traditions. Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India for Theravada tradition, Vietnam, Chinese, Japan, and Korea for Mahayana Buddhism, and Mongolia, Bhutan, Tibet for Vajrayana Buddhist tradition. Today is our 9th dialogue in a series of the weekly international meetings of the Nguyên Dhamma English Club. Business School of Buddhist Study, Vietnam. It is with a great pleasure that Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu has accepted our invitation as a guest speaker to have a talk with our 200 members of the class on the contents of an overview of Buddhism in America. Now, let me give a brief biology of Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu. She was designed in Nguyên with Korean and Vietnamese parts. First, assembled in the U.S., she a beginner Buddhist Upasika, Buddhist follower. She had worked as an academic advisor at the Aemon College in 2020. She was an interdisciplinary study social science program director and professor at the Central Washington University from the 2012 to 2019. Her educational background was the cultural anthropologist, but she also was in the field of the archaeology. She currently lies in the Pacific Northwest in a regal 108 years old pup named Kim Cook. She really like short scholar and teacher. Once again, thank you for joining us and welcome you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. It is an honor and a privilege to meet everyone. I am not a Buddhist scholar or a researcher, and I just want to present what Buddhism in America is. So I was talking to Thầy earlier. Don't know what other countries think about America when it comes to Buddhism, but we have a very interesting growth in Buddhism in America. So let me go to share the screen. How do I share the screen? Okay. Share screen. Can you see? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, sister.
Okay, great. So my Dhamma name is Guanam, and I am from the 11th generation of the Liu Guan lineage. And if we have time later, I can share my story about how I came about. So an overview of American Buddhism, we have American Buddhist landscapes, the major traditions, and the Vietnamese Zen. I want to touch a little bit on Vietnamese Zen in America. And so the American Buddhist landscape has a history relatively new. As we know that America is a young country, it only has about 245 years old. And Buddhism comes pretty late. Well, it has taken roots in the Romantic era, but that's just like Western writers and thinkers at the time was having access to Buddhist texts and Hindu texts, but they didn't actually go into Buddhism until the after 1870s. So what constitutes of American Buddhists are mostly European Americans with a religion of their own, such as the Judeo-Christians or the Catholics or evangelicals, right? And so, and the Buddhism come in handy because it's kind of like a side, an addition to their own faith, where they can practice meditation without interference with their own gods, right? With their own belief. And so many converts and Buddhists see themselves as part of an alternative religious tradition when it comes to meditation. It focuses on American Buddhists. They may or may not be familiar with the Buddha's original teachings, but they can adopt the practices in terms of meditation, mostly known as meditation, in the search for inner peace. And I was that too. At the beginning, I was like, okay, so inner peace, how do I go and get that? And so I learned from my friends that meditation. But that was like a long story. I will share my story later about how that comes about. But in general, when American Buddhists, they talk mostly about Zen, meditation, when it comes to Buddhism and nothing else. So the American Buddhist landscape, it started as from the Transcendentalists and America's early Romantics. You probably have heard about Ralph Waldo Emerson or Henry David Thoreau, Walt Whitman. Those are the thinkers and the writers at the time. So they have access to the Hindus and Buddhist texts that other scholars has translated, and by way of getting to Europe and then get to America, and they get access to that. And the other movement, which is the beats, the poets and the writers, such as Jack Kerouac, Gary Snyder, Allen Ginsberg, and Anne Waldman, those writers also make a really contribution to a big, substantial contribution to American generals in terms of introducing Buddhist concepts in their writing. And those both transcendentalists and the beats, they're responsible through their fine arts, such as poetry or writing story or images, in arts as well. The other one that the Theosophical Society was founded in New York City in 1870 is another important development. Henry Steele Olcott, he was a Presbyterian, and Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, she was a naturalized Russian immigrant, and they were both probably America's first convert Buddhists. They came to Sri Lanka and got their and take their precept to become a Buddhist in Sri Lanka. And then they came back and they bring that, knowledge, the Buddhist knowledge with them to America later on. And the other movement or the other event that actually propelled Buddhism to American population was the World Parliament of Religion. It was held in Chicago in 1893. It was for like 14, 15 different religions in the world that gathered together. But at that place, at that event, Asian religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam was introduced to the United States at the time. So the representatives for Buddhism was the Anagarika Dhammapala. He was a Theravada Buddhist, and he's also the protege of Olcott and a Japanese monk, Shaku Soyen. Also brought at the event, and so they brought Asian like Buddhism to the audience, the big audience. It was so, the event was meeting 100 years later, back in 1993. So the parliament was a historical landmark because it sets in motion for the first Buddhist mission to the US. So after the event, Dhammapala made a numbers of American tours talking about Buddhism, like Theravada particularly. And Shaku Soyin was also making tours as well, along with his Japanese colleagues and students such as Sokayan and Noyogen Senzaki and Suzuki. And I have a little graph that I lifted from Vajra notes, talked about the three yanas in American Buddhism. We have Theravada, we have Mahayana, and we have Vajrayana. And so they have a little graph that has different schools. The Bhavana Society from Sri Lanka, the Forest Tradition from Thailand, the Vipassana from Burma, and the Insight Meditation Society. That is the only tradition that stemmed from the US, like the non-Asian, the white European Americans. They formed that Insight Meditation Society. And I have not heard about Tree Rat Nat group. I've never heard that before. It's never in existence to me. But the mindfulness groups, I have known a few mindfulness groups that on their own, teaching meditation. And for the Mahayana Buddhism, we have in America, we have Nichiren from Japan and Soka Kakai from Japan also. They are really prominent, and I know a couple of people from each tradition. And the other ones are the Pure Land schools, and Shin Buddhism and Chodo Shinshu is a sect of the Shin Buddhism is also prominent here in the U.S. And in addition to the Pure Land, the Zen, we have the Japanese Zen, we have Chinese Chan, we have Vietnamese Tien, and we have Korean Song. Although I don't know much about Korean, I'm not exposed to Korean as much. It's an irony, I know, right? But I have not exposed to Korean Buddhism. And then the other Dhamma realms in Chinese, different schools of Mahayana Buddhism. And then the third yana, which is the Vajrayana, in Eastern schools, we have Shingon from Japan, the Tiantai from China and Japan, and Tibetan, different, like 6 different schools of Tibetan. And I don't know much about the other one. I have heard of them, but I do know the Sakya school of Tibetan Buddhism because we have a monastery near where I live. So that's what constitutes of American Buddhism, just like everywhere else, right? But I think in the U.S., because we have all of the traditions, because the U.S. is big and a land of immigrants, so a lot of immigrants coming from different areas, bringing with them different traditions. And here is the American religious landscape in 2020. It's this graph. It's so sad. As you can see, the third, like yellow down from top down. So 1, 2, and 3, we have 1% of the US population. And as of today, we have 330 3,648,943 people in the country, and Buddhism of all three branches made up only 1%. So we're behind Jewish, we're behind Muslim, we just a little bit in front of Hindu, and that is really sad. So I have a little graph here, a link here to show you. The Pew Research Center has come up with the demographics, right, from the US. And here's a map of the US, and then it's including Alaska and Hawaii. So the statistics is really interesting. So the age distribution, 34% of 19 to 29 years old are Buddhists. And 30% from 30 to 49 years old are Buddhists. And only 23% from 50 to 64. And 65 plus is only 14%. So that's statistics. And then the generational cohort, the younger millennial, 23%. The older millennial, 17%. And I don't know why that dropped, but it has like big drop right there. And the Generation X is 23%, and the baby boomer is 30%. Baby boomer was highest because they were born after World War II and during the 60s. And Buddhism really bloomed during the 60s. So that's why we see the baby boomers age is taking 30% of the Buddhist population in this country. So we have gender composition, very interesting as well. We have 51% of men are Buddhists and only 49% are women. I'm really surprised by that poll. So, and the anthropologist part in me wanted to know why, so I'm probably gonna dig up later on why that difference. So the racial and ethnic composition, again, 44% white, that is a lot. And only 3% Black, 33% Asian. So 12% Latino and others, 88%. So I'm really surprised by this as well because only 33% of Asian. And I thought we have more Asian Buddhists than what the numbers show. So, and then the immigrants, we have 26% immigrants. Second generation is 22%. The third generation is 52%. Again, the data doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, it's very interesting. The third generation, which is like 3 times removed from the original immigrants, and they have higher percentage of Buddhists. That is something really interesting to me. I just don't have an explanation for that. So income distribution, they have 36% of less than 30,000 a year, and 100,000 or more, we have 13%. And so the 50 to 99,000 have 32%, and the medium like 30 to 40, the 50,000 have 18%. Very interesting as well. So the educational distribution, 20% high school or less are Buddhist. Some college with 33% are Buddhist, and 28% college Buddhist. And postgraduate degrees have 20% Buddhist. And they have the marital status as well. Marriage, 39%. Living with a partner, 11%. Divorce, 10%. Never married, 37%. That's really interesting. And parents of children under 18 among Buddhists are 20%. And no parents, 80%. Okay, here comes this category, belief in God among Buddhists. 29% they believe in God, absolutely certain. So I was saying earlier that Buddhists in this country, they already have their own religion, right? They just want to get meditation or some Buddhist practices to supplement that. And again, 29% very certain that they believe in God. And then 10% not to believe in God. And then 1% don't know. And then 27% do not believe in God. And then others like, well, I'm not sure if I believe or not. Very interesting. And the importance of religion in one's life among Buddhists. 33% say very important, and 39% say somewhat important. 15% say not important at all, and then 10% say nope, nada. And then 2% say don't know. So attendance at religious services at least once a week, that is like Christian, right? They go to church on Sunday. And 50% say once or twice a month or a few times a year. And 31% self-dom or never like go to services. And 1% don't know. Frequency of prayer among Buddhists, at least daily, 43%. And weekly, 16%, monthly, 10%, and 29% seldomly, and 1% don't know. This is really interesting, this graph right here. Frequency of participation in prayer, scripture study, or religious education groups, at least once a week, 14%. That's like relative with Christianity. Once or twice a month, we have 13%, and seldomly never, 58%. That is a lot. And here comes a really good graph. Frequency of meditation among Buddhists, at least once a week, 66%. Twice a month, 6%. Several times a year, 7%. And 19% seldomly or never. The frequency of feeling spiritual peace and well-being, 59% that at least once a week, and 14 twice a month, and 14 several times a year. Very interesting. Frequency of feeling wonder about the universe among Buddhists, 55% say that they feel wonder at least once a week. I guess that's during when they do meditation, I guess. Guidance on right and wrong among Buddhists, religion, 8%, philosophy, 28%, common sense, 44%, science, 16%, and 5% don't know. Very interesting. The belief in absolute standard for right or wrong, 21% that there are clear standards on what is right and wrong. And then 75% said that right or wrong depends on the situation. So the frequency of reading the scripture among Buddhists, at least once a week, 28%. And 53% seldom or never. That is a really interesting comparison between what Buddhists in America compared to Buddhists in Vietnam, right? We probably don't have that statistic, like you don't read the scripture every day or every week, 53%, that's just impossible. But that is, I think that is when, because we don't have the kind of Dhamma teaching like we would in Vietnam, here in the US. Mostly people come to Buddhism because of the instant gratification, like, oh, I get to learn a meditation, I get to find peace, but on the surface only though, right? And I don't know much about the Buddha's teachings. They only know part, and that's what Americans are about. They pick the part that they want to be, and then they incorporate that into their life. Kind of like stealing in a way, but interpreting scripture, like not the word of God, right? And so so the Buddhist texts are not the word of God, but the Bible is the word of God in their own religion, right? So come to believe in heavens among the Buddhists, 47% believes in heaven and 46% don't believe. That's a really interesting dynamic as well. Believe in hell, 32% believe and 63% don't believe. This is where we got a problem right there. So it has a lot more demographics, different data on the belief and traditions. And I can send you a link if you're interested in checking it out later. So let's go to the next part. The major tradition, like I was saying, that would have Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. The Theravada tradition, the origin can be traced to the speech made by Anagarika Dhammapala back in 1893. He was heavily influenced by Henry Steele Olcott, and I think I read somewhere that Olcott, he was a really big, like a national person in Sri Lanka, that Sri Lankans are really respected of him due to the work that he has done over there. So he and Helena, they developed or they established the Theosophist Society. And then they visited India and they came to Ceylon or Sri Lanka to have their, to take their Buddhist vow. And then the two Society Washington Buddhist Vihara and Buddhist Study Center at New York are the two Theravada center back in the 1800s for the Theravada tradition. And then the fast forward like 100 and some years later, back in the 1970s, that's when a lot of immigrations coming into the US. And mostly Sri Lankan and Thai lay people, they build the monastics, first one in California. And then the Insight Meditation Society, I was introduced earlier that the group of white people, they would meet and they form the society, and they mostly do the Vipassana meditation. And you probably heard about Jack Kornfield and Joseph Goldstein. They were Peace Corps in the 60s and 70s, American. They have this program, the social program called Peace Corps, and they have the people going all over the world to do social works, like, teaching people English, or they build, or they help people farm, they build houses and something like that. And so, so Jack Kornfield and Joseph Goldstein, they came back. So after their Peace Corps was in Thailand, and they get to learn about Theravada Buddhism, and then they came back. And then Sharon Salzberg, she was the third founding of the IMS after she returned to study Buddhism in different countries. And by the end of 1970s, Theravada Buddhist centers has been established by 5 Asian countries, and they are Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, Cambodia, and Laos. And then fast forward to the Mahayana tradition, is a major influence in the US, but within the tradition, there are many distinct lineages and sects and movements. The Chinese Mahayana Buddhism flourished primarily by Chinese immigrants and ethnic communities. We know that back in the 1800s, when Chinese immigrants come over to work the railroad in America, and also the gold rush in California. So and then Korean and Japanese Buddhism were originally imported from China. But, as immigrants come into this country, they bring that with them. And then in America, the 3 Mahayana tradition of Japan are really important. I guess importance in terms of followers or practitioners. So the Shin Buddhism is the Pure Land tradition, and the Jodo Shinshu sect was brought by the immigrants. I guess it's an offshoot of the Shin Buddhism in Japan, and then the immigrants brought with them to the US, and it became the oldest institutionalized form of American Buddhism. Is the Shin Buddhism, or Shodo Shinshu sect. And then the Nichiren Buddhism, I kind of know a couple of people who practice Nichiren Buddhism. It's a little bit different than the Shin Buddhism in that they focus on the Lotus Sutra rather than the Pure Land. And there are, I guess, the section called the Soka Gakkai International, they have their roots traced back to mid 20th century. So their distinction is that they a major form of lay devotional Buddhism, and that I have seen that white friends. My white friends, they practice this form of Buddhism. And then we have the Shodo Buddhists, emphasize on sitting meditation. And then the other one is Rinzai Zen meditation. And it's emphasized on the contemplation of koans. So that's a little bit different between the Shoto and the Rinzai that I understand according to my knowledge. The other one, the Vajrayana consists of the visualizations of methods used to infuse the body, speech, and mind of the practitioner with the body, speech, and mind of enlightened beings. That's how I understand it. I'm not sure if that is, but that's how I understand the Vajrayana tradition. And in the US, the term Vajrayana, Tantra, or Tibetan Buddhism is often used synonymously. I guess it's from India and it got to Tibet, and how it's getting to the West is via the Dalai Lama, right? Is really famous in the West because of his political and his spiritual status. And in the US, Tibetan Buddhism, we have a monastery near where I live. I have not been there. I wanted to go there, but I haven't got there yet. So those are the three major traditions that we have. And then in the Vietnamese Zen, we all know that Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh and Thich Thien An, one is focused on engaged Buddhism, and the other one's focused on the contemplation, the Zen part, and incorporating that with the Pure Land Buddhism. And Master Thich Thien An, he established when he came to the US in 1965, and he's considered the patriarch of Vietnamese Zen in America. So he's kind of first Zen master in America. Even though Master Thich Nhat Hanh was here earlier, but he wasn't actually put his root until much later, right after the Vietnam War and all the refugees and other things that engaging Buddhism. And so Master Thich Nhat Hanh, he's known, after the Dalai Lama in the West, but because of his work, that having mindfulness, right? Mindfulness, meditation, and engaged Buddhism hand in hand is a way of life. And of course, he's known more because he has written so many books, and he has, whole many meditation retreats, and the work that he has done in the West is just enormous. Everyone in the West knows Master Thich Nhat Hanh. So that is concluding my presentation. Thank you for painfully sitting through this. So did you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu. And thank you for enlightening us Buddhism in America from the beginning to the present. We have got lots of knowledge and useful information that you have given us today. Through your presentation, I believe that all participants and members here have understood clearly and fully about prominent features and characteristics of American Buddhism with various traditional practice. I think in the present time, if American people can engage in Buddhist teaching and get scientific approaches to Buddha works, as well as be active in Buddhist practice and meditation, they will reach in a deep and long way to the spiritual path of the Sakyamuni Buddha. Once again, thank you so much for your excellent presentation and discussion, Professional Moon-Hee Kim Trieu. Now it's time for us to come to Q&A section. Anyone who wants to ask our chief guest, Professor Moon-Hee, kindly open your mic and feel free to ask. Don't hesitate, please.
Yes, we are free to ask our chief guest any question related to Buddhism in America, her lifestyle, her ways of learning English, anything you can ask. I think she's very happy to answer all the questions.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Professor.
Please call me Trieu.
Yes. Could you tell me how engaged Buddhism of Zen Master Thieu began and developed in America?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. From my knowledge, that I have read that because of the Vietnam War, and he tirelessly working for peace and a way of putting the Buddha teaching into practice is to engage by practicing it and by going out and doing things for peace, for mindfully advocate for peace. And yeah, I'm not a scholar. I don't have in-depth knowledge about what he does, but I read some of his books. But the engaging part on my part is really bad because I'm lazy. I don't do of all the things that he has taught. So I'm a bad student as well. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. But how does it impact people? I mean, the people mind about Buddhism.
From what I have seen, or listen or watch, the videos that he had taught in mindfulness, actually people in this country, like they put into the prison, they put into the police force where they teach police law enforcement people learn how to meditate so that they don't just go out into the work and see in a situation and then react not mindfully. And that was one of the big impact that we have, that he had put that into the law enforcement, which is really needed because law enforcement in America is not ideal. And in school, I guess some schools do have incorporate in meditation for children. And then what else? In prison, prisoners, like some Master Tien An's, his students has been going to prisons to teach prisoners how to meditate so that they can change their mindset. They can change their way of thinking and behaving. So yes. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you so much. Someone asked you, kindly tell us a little bit about engaged Buddhism. Oh, you already talked about Zen Master Thieu, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which kind of Buddhism in America you belong to? I mean, Pure Land Buddhism or engaged Buddhism or something like that, Mahayana?
I have the roots. Okay, so from the beginning, I seen my friends. They it's really interesting that they practicing some Japanese form of Zen meditation, and some are Tibetan meditation. And I was like, okay, so what do you do, right? And they were like, you sit down and you meditate. And I was like, well, tell me, show me how. And they was like, you sit down and you let your mind, get quiet. And I was like, okay, let me try. But I sat down, my mind is not quiet down. My mind going like that. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't work for me. And so my journey is interesting in that I tried on my own, it didn't work. And so I came back to Vietnam, to Quy Nhơn in 2016. And I asked my auntie over there, and I asked her if she'd go to the temple. And she's like, yes. And I was like, take me there, okay? And she waited until after 8 p.m. And she took me to the temple. And I was like, why is it nobody's here? And she like, well, the service ended at 7:50, right? And I was like, then why are you taking me in after 8? And she thought that I would just go in the temple just to, asking for blessings. And I was like, no, I wanted to know, you'll take me the next day, take me when the actual service happens, right? And I would go there, and my first time I would go in there, and I was like, oh, okay, so really interesting because we chanted and this the whole hour that we're there. And then by the time we haven't done yet, and everybody got up and they took their mat and they put away. And while they were still chanting the last chant, and I was like, why are people in a hurry for? And my aunt looking at me, she was like, she's not answering me. And because she did that too. And I was like, where are you going? We're not done yet. I'm just sitting down. And I said, well, this one doesn't work. This is not working. And so a few days later, it was New Year, and I was going to all the temples in the Quy Nhơn, and I was like, I'm looking for my teacher. And my teacher came to me back in 2006, and I didn't even know it. My journey is really interesting. In 2004, I was in a PhD program at the time, and I have a monk from Taiwan. He's also in the same program as anthropology and cultural anthropology. And during the winter vacation, he has to go back to Taiwan, and he's like, can you get me a ride to the airport? And I said, yes. So he came over to my place, and he spent a night there so that I can take him at 4 a.m. in the morning to go to the airport. And in the morning, I woke up and I was like, good morning, how are you doing? Did you sleep well? He said, oh yeah, I slept well. And wherever there's a Buddha image, I'm at peace. And I was like, do I have a Buddha in my place? And he was like, yeah, it's on your bookshelf. And I was like, oh, somebody had given me this little glass, it's aged Buddha on there. And I didn't realize that. And he said, oh yeah, you have a Buddha sitting on your bookshelf. And I was like, okay. And I came over and I looked, and I was like, that's not Buddha, that's Kuan Yin. And he was like, no, that's Buddha. And the reason you can tell is he has his hair was spiral. And I said, oh, Kuan Yin doesn't have, and I was like, oh, okay. So I dropped it, right? I just dropped it because my ignorance is just beyond imaginable. And so I guess so he came to Taiwan, he came back to his temple, and on the way back. And when he came back and I came out to the airport, and he gave me this box. He got out of the plane, he gave me this box, and I was like, what's this? He said, well, since you like Kuan Yin so much, this is a gift for my grandmaster, right? And I opened it up, and I was like, wow, this is really beautiful, right? There goes second time I'm ignorant, right? And I think he has something to do with me learning Buddhism, because 2 years later, in 2006. I was in a dream. I was doing something in a cave or something, and I looked up, and there was my teacher. He was standing up there. He was giving me this grin, you know? And when I looked up, and I felt so much peace and love from that. And I looked up, and he was gone. He just like out of thin air, he was gone. And then 10 years later, right, 2016, when I came back, and I told my aunt, like, I gotta go find my teacher because, you know, I want to learn meditation. And we go all over the places. And then that was like noontime. We was at one temple, and I couldn't find. So I was like, okay, where's the last temple around here? And she's like, oh, right over there. And I say, I want to go there. And she's like, good luck, because you're not gonna see him. You know, the abbot at the temple, he's some, you know, a really reverent person. You won't meet him. And I was like, okay, are you gonna take me there? I'm gonna walk. And she looked at me and she was like, I'll take you there. And she took me there, and she was like, on the way there, she was thinking like, how am I gonna meet him, right? And she went and she knocked on some doors, and then there was a monk out, and she asked like her friend, I guess the monk was studying with her at some point, so that she can meet the master. And well, she was asking question, and my teacher was right behind us, right? And he was like, who do you want to meet? And my aunt was like, I want to meet so-and-so. And he was like, how do you know so-and-so? And she was like, well, we was friends. We were studying together. And then I turned around, and I was about to fall down because that teacher was in my dream, right? And I was like, okay. And so he's like, okay, well, come on in. And we came and we sat down, and I you know, presented to him that my desire to learn meditation. And he was like, okay, tomorrow come back and sit down with me. Right. And so tomorrow my aunt and I came back, and yeah, we you know, he taught me how to meditate, and my aunt was sitting there watching, and I was like, don't stare at me, right? Because I can't do it if you stare at me. And so, and then my teacher was like, you do it too, right? And so my aunt said, I don't know what meditation is about. And he taught how to do it. And guess what? She's really good now, and I'm not. I'm still at 0. But the sitting down part is hard for me, because when I do walking meditation, I can do well. But if I sit still, I cannot do it. And so I guess, you know, there's several ways of getting to where you need to be. So sitting is not working for me. It hasn't been working for me. So that is how my journey into Buddhism is taking place back in the place where I was born, in Nguyên. So long story, right? So sorry.
Yes, it's so interesting.
But yeah, I have always wanted to learn how to meditate, but not. I'll get there one day. Hopefully, right? Hopefully, I'll get there one day when I'll be able to sit down. But right now, I cannot sit. If I walk, yes, I can get to certain area. But if I sit still, I can't. So, yes. Who has their hands up?
Yeah. I want to ask you, is studying in the USA easy for other countries?
Is studying in the US easy? Depends. My journey to the US, I knew 5 words of English, and I didn't know how to use them because my mom made me learn it by heart. And she told me that if I got to San Francisco, and if I don't know those 5 words are, she would turn that plane around and send me back to Vietnam. And so I was like, okay, memorization, fine. Yes, no, please, and thank you. Didn't know how to use them. And she asked me, what were the 5 words? And she said, yes. And I said, yes, no, please, and thank you. And so after that, I was thrown into English speaking school, and I have no way of understanding. I was like, at the first 3 months, I was looking like, because everybody's talking, so I have to look at them like, okay, who's saying what, you know? And then my English teacher, after 3 months, he was asking the class, what is an adverb? And nobody know. And so I was like, slowly raised my hands up, and I said, you know what an adverb was? And he was like, ooh, you talk. And I told him, well, I wasn't muted, right? I wasn't speaking, but that doesn't mean I can't talk. And he was like, okay, so you're the only one who has who know what adverb is. And so you got the star for the day. And that was when I started to talk without stopping. I haven't stopped talking since. And it's really hard in that if you are determined. So my friend, my friend from high school also came to the US 4 years later, but she only speaking Vietnamese and she doesn't learn English. So she said that she went to ESL 1 level for 4 years and she quit, right? Why? Because at home, she speaks Vietnamese with her family. When at home, I don't speak Vietnamese to my family. So, and I speak Vietnamese to my dog, right? And so that I can retain the Vietnamese. And I thought I was a really big shark in Vietnamese when I came home in 2016. And I spoke Vietnamese to my auntie, and she was like, you really suck, your Vietnamese really sucks, right? And I was like, no, my Vietnamese is good. And she's like, no, your Vietnamese is really hard to understand. And I was like, well, all this time I thought I was good. So if you learning a second language, after learning English, I learned other languages. I learned French, I learned Spanish, I learned American Indian language, and I also am learning Korean. I'm going backward, right? And so after learning English, it's really easy to learn other languages. And don't be shy when you learn English. You have to speak up so that if you get, pronunciation, when you pronounce wrong, and you can correct that. But if you're shy, you'll never get to learn, how to improve your speaking skills. I know all the Vietnamese students that come to the US are really good with grammars, but their speaking is really hard to hear. Because I have taught for 7 years, and I'm still an advisor, so I see students every single day, Monday to Friday. And when it's come to Vietnamese, and they was like, do you speak Vietnamese? And I was like, yes. Can we speak Vietnamese? I say no. And they was like, why? And I was like, well, because you need to learn English, right? I can't speak Vietnamese to you, but what does that do for you? You're only good at writing, and you can't hear and you can't speak. So my encouragement is speak up. If you speak up and you don't know, say if you don't know how to pronounce a word, say, how do you pronounce it? All right. If you don't know how to spell how a word is, say, how do you spell it? And they will spell it out for you. And they will, and I cannot say the word Robert. Right? Robert cannot say it. And exactly, I cannot say that. my English teacher was sitting there. I made her sit there and talk to me. Just one word, exactly right. Until I hear it, until I actually like hear it. And then I can repeat. You can do that too. So, and then I couldn't say Robert. And I told her to sit there. Tell me Robert, just like a machine, right? I just keep on listening until I said it. So learning English is like that. It's not like you have to speak slowly at first. And then if some word, Vietnamese language is hard to learn English in that our language is tonal language. It's go up and down, up and down. Whereas English is not like that. English has inflection, but not up and down. And so if we used to speak in Vietnamese, it's harder to learn English, especially after puberty. After 14 years old, 15 years old, it's harder to pronounce. So speak up and keep repeating the word that you don't know how to say it. Don't be shy. The most important thing is don't be shy. Yeah. Any other question? Does that answer your question?
Thank you so much. So is that the key point to learn language? Like you said, speak it up and don't be shy. It is the case? Yeah.
Yes.
Namo Sakya Muni Buddha. I have a question for you.
Yes.
As I know, you currently lies in the Pacific Northwest in the Brigo 100, 8 years old Prof named Kimko.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I want to know what the most popular religion in the your living is also in America.
Popular. Could you please?
Religion.
Religion? Oh, Christianity. Christianity is the main religion here in the U.S. I was. Here's another story. I have a lot of stories. I was forced to believe in Christianity when I was in the Christian school in Malaysia. At the time, my parents lived in Malaysia, and so I went there. And the Dalat International School was a religious school that took place in Dalat, Vietnam. And after the war, they moved the whole campus to Penang Island in Malaysia. And so, and that school there, my parents used to live there from 1991 to 1992. I lived there with them from 1991 to 1992, but they lived before me back in 1989. And when I went over there to the school, that's the only one of the two English-speaking schools. One is in the UK, the Upland High School, and the other one's the Dalat International School. And I went there, and by the rules of the school, you have to learn Christianity, right? You have to study the Bible. It's one of your subjects. Second period, for me, it was second period, learning the Bible. And Christianities, I want to make you Christian so that you're not a heathen, right? And so I get to learn the Bible. I didn't have any problem with that because I'm not intolerant. I was tolerant, and towards the end of the school year, this pastor, really famous pastor in America, he came over there for a visit, and they wanted to Christian me. They wanted to, and I was like, hey, at that time I didn't know Buddhist, but Christianity is not for me. I knew that, and Jesus. Yes, I believe in Jesus because he's a historical person, just like our Buddha, right? But to take him as a savior, in that term, the Christianity, take God is your savior. I didn't believe in that. And I was like, okay, so if you want to question me, you can, but you cannot take me out there in that ocean and dip me down and take me up, because that's not going to happen. And so they was like, okay, we can do that, because Christianity is that it's a symbolic. They put you in the water and they yank you up. That's mean that you reborn again is the children of God, right? And I was like, no, you're not going to put me in that water and yank me up. And they was like, okay, so we're just going to dry Christianize you. And I was like, okay. And so they talked about like, it's a Christian, you don't kill, you don't do that. Okay, fine, I don't have a problem with that, but I never got Christianized. But the thing is that Christianity, evangelical form of Christianity and Catholic are the two. And like we seen in the graph earlier, the Islam come into third, and then Buddhists come into tiny little sector there in the US. Yep. Does that answer your question? But my dog Kim Cook, she is going to be 16 years old in human years, next April. And she taught me so much. She taught me so much about life. So I'm so grateful to have her in my life.
Yes. I have you a question.
Yes.
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. I have a question for you. Why are American Buddhists so emphasize about meditation?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's because as from my understanding, it's easier to do, right? America is a fast life. We're on a fast lane all the time. We're stressed out. We bent up. We need a form of release, an outlet to release. And Christianity teaches us to fear God, right? With Buddhism, especially for meditation, there's no God there, so you're not fearful, right? And so, but then the benefits of that is that once you get it, you feel good in terms of, you let go of all the stresses, you have peace. And so if you do a search online, a lot of celebrities, like Hollywood celebrities, are Buddhists. And when they talk that I'm a Buddhist because I practice meditation. And meditation is a kind of like an instant release, easy access if you can do it, right? And that's the part that we get it and we don't when it comes to Buddhism, because meditation is helping us to get to liberation. But the Dhamma, like the Buddha's teaching, will be the fuel to get us there. But we lack that. We lack the Dhamma in American Buddhism. And we have more of lay people here rather than monastics, right? Because they would not. America is we emphasize on individualism, and we won't let go of that. And so we won't let go of our belongings. We won't let go of what belongs to us. And so that's. But the thing is that if we are educated in the Dhamma and the Buddha teaching, I think that will be lessen our burden in practicing. Unlike Vietnam, I have seen like we have like Dhamma talks all the time. But here we rarely ever, and the Buddhist monks, the monastics here, is really different in that they have to support themselves. In Vietnam, the monasteries there, like, you know, lay people support, whereas the monks and the nuns, you do what you do. You don't go out and you work to earn the money, right? Here, monks in America, they have to do that because they usually, some temple only one monk, right? And some other have more, but they still have to work to support because the lay people won't be able to sustain that. It's really different. Monks in America or nuns in America are having a really hard time in supporting themselves. So, does that answer your question or no? Or am I off track?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thong An, please. Do you have any question?
Okay. Can you tell me, have you ever thought you will become a nun one day?
Have I ever thought to become a nun?
Yes. Have you ever thought about that?
Thank you for the question. I have, I don't know. I still have obligations to do, to complete in this lifetime. So I don't think I'll be a nun here or in this lifetime. I don't know, but I do study the Dhamma as much as I can, as best as I can. Perhaps some other lifetime, but this lifetime I still have obligations that I have to complete before I can get myself ready for that, maybe next lifetime. So thank you. Any other
Thank you so
questions?
much.
So interesting. Thank you. Chân Thiện, please.
Can you tell me when was the last you came to Vietnam?
Last time was 2016. Yeah, it's been 5 years, 6 years now. Going on 6 years, yes. It's just I have Kim Cook. She's, I can't go anywhere because she's with me, and she's getting older, and it's harder to, for her. I feel really bad that I have to leave her, and then because to me or to other people, she's a dog, right? But to her, I am her whole life. I am her survival. I am her life. So if I leave, she will be miserable, and I don't want to experience that. So I don't know when she's gonna be, you know, making her next transition, but once she's gone, I think I'll have more time to come back. Yeah. Anyone else? I think có nhuận hạnh. Do you have your hand?
What your hand? Gì giờ hỏi?
Oh, someone said, oh, she's sleeping. She's sleeping. She's I don't know. You can go to my Facebook. I post her pictures all the time there. She is really I see Dhamma, like I see Dhamma in her behaviors. I see the love, I see the tolerance. You know, like how dogs, when they go out and they go pee and they pee on each other's pee, right? And I was like, one day, and I was watching her, she was sniffing, and then she would pee right next to it, right? And I was like, why don't you pee on top of that, like all the dogs do? And she looked at me like, why do I have to do that, right? There's space in this world for everybody. Why do I have to step on the other person, the other dog's pee? And that's when I realized that, you do not have to do that. There's enough space, enough resources, enough everything for everybody to coexist at the same time. See, that's how I learned so many lessons from her. A little lesson, but impact. So profound lessons. Yeah. Okay, so Cô Nhuận Hạnh, did you have a question? Or Thầy Nhuận Hạnh?
Hello, madam. Can you tell me, is study in the USA easy for other countries?
Pardon me?
Is studying in the USA easy for other country?
So the college that I'm working at right now, we have a lot of Vietnamese students coming from Vietnam to study English. And then after they're English and they get the degree and they can transfer to a 4-year university. So at the school that I'm working, you only have like certain English score or something. I'm not familiar with that because I'm not in that program. But anybody 16 years old or older, you can apply, but you will have to have your own financial, and you have to have like certain English. But trust me, when you come over here, you'll learn English faster if you don't stay with Vietnamese, if you don't speak Vietnamese. So in a way, it is easy, or in a way, it's hard. It depends on how you look at it or how determined you are. But once you live in an environment that English speaking only, you will learn faster, because that's how I was. I didn't have no other way but to study, but to speak. And if I like pronounce it wrong, I say it's wrong, right? So tell me how to say it right. And I make sitting there or standing there to say it until I got it. So yes. Does that answer your question?
Lots of questions.
Thank you.
What motivates make you to come to Buddhism? What motivates make you to come to Buddhism?
Thank you for the question. I don't know if it's motivated me or it has been me and it's waiting to come out. So I was sharing with you the story about my dream back in 2006. Like my teacher was there in my dream, and 10 years later, I go looking for him, and he was right behind me the whole entire time. Yeah. And and I think my friend, the Venerable, back in 2004, gave me I was, ignorantly arguing with him. That's the Buddha and the Kuan Yin, the Buddha and the Kuan Yin. I think he has something to do. He's responsible for me as well. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I see your question? 108 years old, yes. By dog years, she's 108. She's 15 and a half. So she's gonna be 16 in April, next April. And yes, a lot of people say she lived a long life. And she has her own way. Thầy, you probably seen her on my Facebook, right? I post pictures all the time. I brag about her all the time. I brag and brag and brag all the time. Because she's a wonderful teacher to me, you know? She's such a wonderful teacher to me. I learned so much lesson from her as a dog, but I don't think she's a dog. I think she come here to teach me. So, yes, sư cô Quán Ngọc.
Nice to meet you. I would like to ask you a question. Are there any universities for Buddhism in the US? And can you introduce some of them? Thank you.
We don't have most of the university in the U.S. has the religion or the Buddhism program, but not in terms of researching, but not practicing, right? Unlike the school, like Nguyên Thiều school, you learn about Buddhism strictly, right? In the U.S., it's more like a researching schools. And if you search like Berkeley, Stanford, Harvard, they all have, Buddhism program or Eastern religion programs, they call it. And then if you want to study Buddhism in the US, you have to do it on your own because you don't have a teacher that, you rarely ever come to a teacher that specializes in Buddhism, but also a practitioner of Buddhism, right? A researcher, you can do a lot of reading, you can do this and that, and you can synthesize what you're reading, and that's your knowledge. But the practitioner of Buddhism, we don't have many in America. Yeah.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Đức Hà Trân Thiện Thức Ăn.
What is your most memorable memory in Vietnam?
Most memorable memory. Thank you. I have a lot of memorable memories in Vietnam. I was born there, right?
Yes.
But I was born there, but then I left when I was 15 years old. And when I came here, I don't have any interaction with Vietnamese at all. Even at home, my mom and I, okay, so here's the thing. When I first came, I resented my mom because I didn't know English, and she wanted me to learn English. And she spoke English to me when I needed her to speak Vietnamese to me. And she won't. And so I resented her for that. And so when I learned English and she spoke Vietnamese to her, so I answered her in English, and she was really mad at me. She still is. She still have that resentment, like, now that you learn English, you don't speak Vietnamese anymore. But that was my bad because I wanted to get back to her for what she did to me, right? So that's how my Vietnamese got really bad because I don't live with Vietnamese. I don't live in a Vietnamese community. So I don't speak Vietnamese until, like I said, I came to Quy Nhơn, and I met my aunt there, and she hasn't called me in a week now, but every night we have Vietnamese conversation so that, my Vietnamese can get better. But just like Vietnamese and English, vocabularies is so important. You have to read a lot. If you want to be good in English, you have to read a lot. Because vocabulary, if you want to say something but you don't find a word, you cannot find a word to say it, you're stuck. So you have to read. My Vietnamese is bad because I read it, but I don't have a word, right? I can read, but I don't know the word. And so, and another tip is when you learn English, do not translate. Like you can sit there and what in Vietnamese, how I translate to English, you cannot do that because it takes you forever. You have to you have to take yourself out of the Vietnamese mindset and put yourself in the English mindset. So you think, you speak English only. That's how you pass. And to read, I don't care if you understand what you read, just familiarize yourself with the word, right? With the words, and then you can check it out later. But the words come in handy because because when you want to write something or you say something, that's how you do it fast. Is you have the word ready in your mind, ready to roll out, right? Whereas you sit there and you say, "Oh, what is that word means?" Right? What is that word in English? You sit there forever. And so that's why when I first come here, like I just, being plunked into a pool. Okay, now am I gonna swim or I'm gonna sink? And so I choose to swim so I don't think in Vietnamese. I don't think in Vietnamese at all. It's English only. Try that and see if it works. Seriously. Try it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your excellent tips. So all members can use this or learn English in our club. So it's so kind of you. Yes, it's so kind of you because now it's so late and I think in USA. But now, can you give us any advice or suggestions to improve our club or development our club in the future? And because now our club just invite some speakers in the field of Buddhist studies. We are lacking of native English speakers. So, do you have any connection with the native English speakers? So, could you help us to invite some native English speakers to contact, to interact with our members in our club?
I do know. Yes, I do know some. But the only problem is midnight here, and I don't think they would be willing to do that. But I can ask. Because of the time. Now that we're in the fall, it's earlier. If we were still in spring, like last week, it would be 2 hours, like 2 p.m. There's be midnight here.
Yes, maybe maybe we can shift the time from 2 p.m. to 12 o'clock. Yes, okay. 2 hours earlier. I think it's better.
Yeah, but yeah, I will ask and see if they want to do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, as far as I don't know. I mean, can you hear me okay? Like,
yes.
Do you have any problem understanding of what I'm saying, or? I know I have an accent because English is not first language. I'm not a native speaker.
Now you're like a native English speaker. US native speaker.
So, so as far as development, I was saying from my experience, I read a lot and I speak. I read out loud, as in like, now I read by eyes, but when I first learning English, I read it out loud. I pronounce certain word, and then if I don't get it right, somebody will correct me. And again, pay attention to the tone. You have to take yourself out of that and into another environment is to learn. But if you like to practice, I can come back, you know, or we can have a time to meet somehow. I'll be happy to help in any way that I can. Yeah. But the speaking is important. Speaking is really important because if you you speak and people don't understand you, that is a big barrier. Yeah, I know all the Vietnamese students are really good with grammars, really good with grammars because we learn grammars like crazy in Vietnam, right? But the speaking part, I had a student from Quảng Trị, right? And he was in tears. He's like, "Can I speak to you in Vietnamese?" And I said, "Sure." And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, I can't speak English." And I said, "Oh, yes, you can." And he was like, "No, I can't." And I was say, "Try it." So he tried, and yes, it was really hard. It's really hard to hear. But I told him, like, keep trying. Keep trying. Just don't get that tonal in there. Don't get that tonal in there. And you will be fine. So any other questions? Can you say something in Vietnamese? What do you want me to say? I don't know. Kính chào, kính chào. Kính chào quý thầy, kính chào quý cô. Right? Quý cô or quý sư cô.
Yes.
Yeah. Con hy vọng hôm nay quý thầy, quý cô can hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Okay.
Con hy vọng quý thầy, quý sư cô hôm nay sẽ happy.
Yes, happy.
Happy.
Any other questions? Anything else that I can help answer or? Oh, thank you. It's like years and years of training every night talking to my aunt because she was like, "Your tongue is really, 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 really hard." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, she's been busy, I guess. Last week she hadn't called me, so let's see."
Okay, the last question?
Yes.
You want to ask?
Did I miss?
Okay, if no, so as I know, it's too late in your country now. So, maybe Thư Anh, please, the last question.
Yes.
Oh, you have to unmute your mic. Oh, please unmute your mic. Thank you.
Who are intellectuals? What is the method to direct them to Buddhism?
Pardon me?
You understand?
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes.
Thank
For
you.
the majority of population in America who are intellectuals, what is the method to direct them to Buddhism?
I am sorry. I don't understand. Could you please write it?
She
or
means
repeat?
what is the population in the United States and what is the majority are interested in the Dhamma?
Oh, the population in the US?
Yes.
It's I am not good at math, right? I am horrible at math. But the current U.S. population is 333,648,943 people, but only 1% is Buddhist. So I don't know how many people, like 3 million people are Buddhists. Yeah, very, very small. Very small.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. And now may I request my sister Thiều to give vote of thanks. Sister, please.
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Dear participants, I am going to offer vote of thanks to our guest speaker and to us and participants. First of all, we are very pleased to receive the encouragement and instruction of most friend Dr. Thích Đồng Thành, Rector Business School of Buddhist Studies, of faculty members and teachers to found this pioneer club in the field of Buddhist studies. For this wonderful presentation, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu, who not only accepted our official invitation as a guest speaker today, but also delivered such an excellent presentation and discussion on an overview of Buddhism in America. Thank you very much, Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu, for enlightening us Buddhism in America. We have got lots of knowledge and useful information that you have given us. Through your presentation, I believe that all participants and members here have understood clearly and fully about prominent features and characteristics of American Buddhism with various traditions of practice. My deep and special thankfulness to you, Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu, for your valuable knowledge and inspiration. We encourage us to study Dhamma also. In addition, on this occasion, I would like to express the gratefulness and thankfulness to my beloved members of the club and all interns of School of Buddhist Studies in Bình. We are not here without your support, cooperation, encouragement, and effort. I believe that with this persistent weekly activities together, our goal of Professor of Dhamma English will be realized and recognized in a happy manner. Keep it up together. We will be better at English in the near future. Come on, all Indians. I also would like to send my special thanks to our moderator today, Sister Phúc Tam. I am really impressed on your words and speeches. Congratulations on your good performance today, Sister. Last but not the least, I am thankful to all participants for joining us in this international interactive meeting. Welcome you all to our international meeting next week. May you all experience true peace and happiness in this life and the future. May you all be healthy in body, peaceful in mind, happy in life, and successful in career of spiritual path. Thank you very much. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, my sister Thiều. Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu, I really hope to see you again in our meeting.
Thank you, thank you. So, may I say something? Siko Thiều, your speaking is really wonderful, like flight attendants, right? Speaking, like really, really. Thank you.
Sweet voice.
Now we go to come to the last session by singing our traditional song of the club. I have tried, I'm home. Before that, please come to the online certificate distribution section. I'd like to invite Venerable Thích Đồng Đạo to deliver the certificate to our chief guest today. Venerable, please.
Yes. Thank you very much on members in the club. Now, I would like to give the online certificate distribution for my my tip. I may really appreciation to our chief guest, Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu. Because our club organized a weekly international meeting on the Dhamma English and the tenets of Buddhist traditions. That's why just 1 or 2 minutes for our appreciation to you, sister. That today is our night dialogue with our international meeting. So first, I really appreciate Professor Moon-Hee Kim Trieu, the former director Interdisciplinary Studies Social Sciences Program, Central Western University, USA, for her excellent presentation on an overview of Buddhism in America. She also shared a wonderful knowledge, ideas, opinions on how to learn English to our membership club. And once again, thank you very much, sister. Thank you. And I also appreciate Dhamma brother Thích Quảng Thiện for his opening speech. Well, excellent speaking, because we are students as we practice speaking in our club, in our meeting. So thank you and congratulations, Dhamma brother Thích Quảng Thiện. And so thank you very much, Dhamma sister Thích Nữ Huệ Châu. You worked very well in the vote of thanks. Thank you very much, Dhamma sister Huệ Châu. And the last, our moderator, Thích Nữ Phúc Tâm. She's an expert in English. She's managed wonderfully in our section today. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you all members on Ancients. We call NT because the abbreviation of Nguyên Thiều. So all the students, all the persons, all the people from Nguyên Thiều or graduation from Nguyên Thiều school, we call NT. So thank you very much on Ancients for coming and joining us in this section. Thank you, and have a nice weekend to you all. And see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon. And I'll see you online.
Yes, see you online. And hope to see you again next time. Yes.
Yes, please. I love to help out. So if you need anything, please let me know. If you want to talk, I'll meet and talk. I guess, like I was saying, speaking is important. So you need to, say something. Say something.
That's why I found this club. Basically, listening and speaking skills only.
Yes. So yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. On the best.
Thank you.